Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video. For some background, my sister Jessica and I had a pretty good relationship. It was never like we had one of those explosive sibling relationships like some siblings on Reddit do before stuff like this happens, which is what makes me as heartbroken as I have become. Hell, heartbroken would be an understatement. The past year has gotten me almost completely numb to relationships. So here's a small timeline to my misery. From the start till the end, until I have come to my breaking point, reconsidering everything in my life. So I met Austin when I was in first year of college at a local pub. We hit it off immediately and fell head over heels for each other, leading us to go on a couple of dates and eventually starting to date. I have had pretty strict parents since the beginning. They have always been a little conservative too, so I was always a bit hesitant to introduce them to my partners. Hell, my anxiety was so much that I almost never introduced them to any of them, but after dating for about a whopping 4 years, I introduced them to him. Now that I think about it, it was like one of the biggest mistakes I could make. Well, my family immediately fell in love with Austin, and I guess that included Jessica too. This wasn't just some acceptance kind of love, but the romantic kind, and honestly, I will have to give it to her that she was good at hiding all of this because it didn't take her another 4 years for everything to come out. So I continued to date Austin, and he had become like the son to my parents they never had. My Austin was extremely accepting of this, and honestly, I was amazed at how much my parents had changed with Austin walking into their lives. It was like they had always sort of eased with me and my sister because now we had someone to look over us. Now that I think about it, I almost cringe because of how sexist it was. The fact that they had eased up on us because a male figure was now present to protect us. Well, this is also when my parents started to ask my boyfriend for advice. You see, my sister had a little bit of a party girl phase in college. The girl, who was previously a straight A student in school, a devoted person who believed in the religion that my parents followed, and a person who constantly participated in extracurriculars. My parents were worried for her as a result. A little too worried, actually, because, of course, their little princess was now exploring the real world and getting out of hand a little too much. I assume this was when their relationship began. When my boyfriend used to take her out to eat, whenever a fight broke out between her, and my parents would invite my boyfriend to mediate the situation. It was like they were becoming closer, and I had no idea about it. In fact, I was happy to see that my boyfriend and sister had a good relationship, and that my boyfriend didn't have to deal with a difficult sister in law. So, in this manner, 4 years passed by, and by the end of our seventh anniversary, I'm starting to get just a little suspicious because of how frustrated and involved my sister has started to become in our relationship. She started to invite herself whenever we hung out together and tried to spark between my boyfriend and I. Well, it worked because these things definitely created a rift between Austin and I. So much so that we basically didn't talk for weeks on end, and he didn't care enough to approach me. This was all during the 8th year of our relationship, and I honestly should have ended the relationship there and then. But hey, I wouldn't have been here if I was that smart. So I ignore all the red flags and try to work on our relationship, which obviously doesn't work. Our arguments worsen, and it only takes about a literal week after our 8th anniversary that Jessica and Austin both sit me down because they need us to talk. I immediately get the gut feeling that my relationship is over here, but still, with the slightest sense of hope in me, I stay quiet and decide to hear them out. That is when they tell me that Jessica is pregnant and there's a possibility that the baby might be mine. I honestly thought this was some sick, twisted joke, or at least my silence indicated I expected for it to be one. But hey, of course, the serious faces with dead worry. This is when Austin also dropped the bombshell on me that he wanted to take care of Jessica and the baby until they could get a DNA test when she gave birth. Ouch, I know. This was the part where my heart broke into a million pieces, but I thought at least I would have the support of my family and friends. But boy, Was I wrong? I still remember the call I received from my parents a couple of hours after the situation took place, expecting comfort. I immediately picked it up through teary eyes and started talking to them, only for them to sound so happy for Jessica's pregnancy and for their first grandchild. Hell, I still remember them raving about how they were literally raving about the fact that these people were happy that it was my boyfriend who was the father of their daughter's baby. Devastation would be an understatement. I was lost, not knowing what to do. Hell, the entirety of her pregnancy, I hadn't even broken up with Austin properly. Just became numb and sat there, watching my own man take care of my sister who was carrying his baby. I stayed silent through it all until a month before Jessica gave birth to her child. She asked me, hell, not asked, quite literally demanded, that I turn one of the rooms in the house I pay for as a nursery. This is when my fuse broke. I lost my crap. I argued with them for the first time, and it all led to everyone piling over me. After this, the demands just kept getting crazier, from starting from wanting to give up one of the rooms in my house, till asking me to pay for the nursery, to pay for a nanny as she goes back to college. Yeah, she failed 5 classes last time she did, LOL. It's like hearing one demand over another from all of these people is making me feel like I need to cut these people off. It's like I'm coming to this realization now, but every time I talk to anyone around me for advice, I feel guilty because everyone says I should understand Austin's side, how mistakes are made, and I should be happy about the same because if I try to fix the relationship, I will receive a good father to my children too. I'm conflicted, lost, heartbroken. What should I do here? AITA? Jessica gave birth today, and guess what? I was the one not only to take her to the hospital, but also be in the labor room with her as she begged me to be there for her. I knew it was to spite me and to make me feel terrible about everything once again, but I also knew I was a person as horrible as them to leave her alone at one of her most vulnerable moments. The reason why I was the one who took her to the hospital was because she was over at my place as she got into labor. My parents are on a trip, and so is Austin, along with them, for trekking. I informed them of the situation, and yeah, although I didn't receive a single thanks, I was told that they would return. As for Austin's parents, I called them up and was shocked to find out that they had no idea Jessica was pregnant, let alone pregnant with Austin's child. I was surprised to see they, for once, were upset at Austin and wanted to hold him accountable for everything that happened. Nothing except for this has happened yet, but I will update you all once my parents and Austin return. Things just got messier today. You see, Jessica's friends had come over to take care of her right after she gave birth, so I left. I didn't see much of the baby, but oh boy, as I was told, from the words of mutual friends of Jessica and I, all hell broke loose when Austin and my parents visited the hospital to see the baby. I didn't see much of the baby, but oh boy, as I was told from the words of mutual friend of Jessica and I, all hell broke loose when Austin and my parents visited the hospital to see the baby. She described it to me in great detail, starting off from the point that she saw them walk in, all excited and giddy to see their grandson and baby. Soon enough, their reaction turned into shock. But that was just the case for my parents because David legit looked like he was going through all of these stages of grief all on the same day because the 3 of them stood there looking at a baby which was of African American descent. David immediately flew off the handle, starting to throw a fit of rage, full-blown breakdown. So much so that the hospital called in security to kick him out. Ever since I heard all of this, I've been before I found out all of this, I had already received a call from Austin telling me that he wanted to meet me to talk, which I agreed to because I did not know all this had happened. Well, it will be more of a pleasure to see his face now. We'll update you all later. Hi everyone, I met up with Austin today and honestly, I finally feel like I have gotten some closure after all the chaos. I sat down with him at a local restaurant, the one where we had our first date actually, and as soon as I walked him and looked at him, in his miserable state of mind, I felt nothing. No sense of remorse, sympathy, empathy, love, care. Nothing at all. That is when I knew I had gotten over Austin. But I knew I just had to talk to him one last time before starting a new chapter of my life. So I sat down, and he was sweeter than ever, talking to me as if he had never done me wrong, asking me about my life and whatnot. Then, very awkwardly, he began talking about everything: how Jessica's birth impacted him, how his parents disowned him, yada yada. I guess he thought I would give him some sympathy, but I just heard him out quietly, and eventually he just realized I wasn't going to give him the satisfaction or validation he was craving. He just apologized to me and began crying, telling me how sleeping with my sister was the biggest mistake of his life because now not only did he find out that the child did not belong to him, he also found out that he has caught an STD from Jessica. I was dumbfounded. This man truly lost it all. I mean, his parents, his baby, his relationship. Yet I wasn't feeling an inch of sadness for him. I told him that, well, after this, he also was going to need to vacate the house we were living in, and although that shocked him, he kind of saw that coming. I left after that and blocked him everywhere. I have also blocked my parents, who wouldn't stop bombarding my phone with apologies. As for Jessica, I guess they're trying to find who her baby daddy is. Currently, I'm just waiting on Austin to vacate the house we're living in so that I can honestly just start fresh. And that's all I have for you guys. Thank you for the support and tough love. It means a lot to me. NTA, I'm shocked that you even have to ask this, and even more shocked about the fact that you claim to have a good relationship with your sister. From what I've read, none of what you're describing is a sign of a healthy and good relationship, and I think you should run as far as you can from these people. NTA, but why are you even still in the phase of considering leaving these people? If I were in your shoes, that would be my first step. I, 26 female, have been married to James, 27 male, for 2 years now. I have a more unusual name, Oceana, and I love it. I vastly prefer that to Anne, honestly. But for a while, my in laws have been calling me Anna and have been introducing me, referring to me as Anna to other people, and trying to discourage me from introducing myself with my full name. My husband has told them I don't go by Anna, so they should stop calling me that. They said it's a sign of endearment when someone gives you a nickname. He told them I go by my full name. It was over a family dinner recently, and my husband's nephew mentioned how he told one of his friends about me and his mom. My husband's sister corrected him and told his friend my name was Anna and not Oceana. I waited for the kids to be out of earshot and told them I was so damn tired of them disrespecting me, that my name is the one I have always gone by and they are wrong for not using it because of their tastes. I told them they wouldn't like it if I started randomly chopping up their names for Anne against their wishes, and they have no right to do it to me. Mother-in-law argued that their names are all normal and they're real names, unlike mine. She told me it's embarrassing to talk about a person, let alone a grown woman, with some weird hippie name that nobody should wear. My husband backed me up and we left, but his whole family, minus the kids, are saying I was rude to them and should be more understanding of the fact my name is abnormal and plain bad. My husband doesn't agree with them, but I do acknowledge Anna can be taken from my name and there are worse things I could be called. I wonder if I was overly sensitive and feeling insulted by their refusal to call me by my name anymore. They used to. AITA? NTA. Depending on how petty you are, either ignore them completely when they use Anna or pick a random name to call each of them. Even better if the name annoys them. Your name is your name. It doesn't matter if they like it or not. It's your identifying noise. And though they can use what you prefer. NTA, your name is beautiful and unique. I'm sorry your in-laws are so disrespectful. I applaud you for your patience and I think you should continue to firmly correct them until they realize the absurdity of their behavior. I, 31 female, am adopted. My parents are wonderful, and I had the best sister, 35, growing up. To me, they are my family, and I never had any interest in meeting my birth mother or any of my other biological family. 3 years ago, I got a Facebook message from someone who claimed to be my half sister. She was about 16 at the time, and I was not in the position to start a conversation, so I ignored it and hoped she would move on. But she didn't, and instead she sent me 3 more messages in the middle of the night a few weeks after the initial message. I responded that I was not looking to connect, but I wished her and her family the best. Then I blocked her. A few months later, yet another account, yet another one of her kids, though I suspect it was the same girl, made contact again. I tweaked my settings for receiving DMs on there and Insta. Last year, then, I noticed a number of messages that were sent via Insta from 4 accounts. Some were still very young, but it was more clear that all 4 of my birth mother's children were reaching out. One of them, from the same girl who had contacted me, said that they wanted to know me even if their mom didn't, and they had always wanted a big sister. I responded to her since she was the oldest and legally an adult at that point and told her I was not interested and they needed to please leave me alone. A few weeks ago, they showed up at my door, with the oldest showing how they had paid for someone to track me down, as if it was a good thing, would make me want to let them in more. I was not happy. They were trying to get me to invite them inside, but I told them to leave. Twice, if not 3 times, and then I shut the door on them and called the police when they did not leave. My sister came over as all of this was going on, and they were rude to her in trying to get in. The police showed up and escorted them off my property. The whole ordeal was talked about in my family, and 2 of my cousins, who are also adopted, took offense to what I did. They said I was cruel to turn them away and I should get to know them because connecting with the birth family is so rewarding and how they will always be there. I told them my family will always be there, the ones I grew up with and love. They said, considering some of them are still minors and they have been making these efforts for years now, I should never have been so harsh with them. AITA, NTA. You are under no obligation to connect with these mystery family members who you did not grow up with and have no connection to other than blood. As far as you're concerned, they were trespassing on your property. Having the police escort them away is what you do when you have trespassers that refuse to leave. Connecting with the birth family is so rewarding and they'll always be there. Oh, please, save that BS. That's a roll of the dice. Sure, they could be good people, or they might all be horrible. You don't seem to be in a position to want to roll those dice, and that's fine. Nobody should try to force you to do so. Your biological siblings are AHs for pushing, and your cousins are AHs for that tacky line and for trying to goad you into a relationship you don't want. NTA, you are under no obligation to get to know these people at all. When you said no, they kept pushing. They have no right to stalk you. I understand that family is about the people who raised you and those you were raised with. Years and years go into those relationships. Someone just can't put a claim on you due to DNA. Not like this. Clearly, you are not in the headspace for family who don't even know, and given that, you have nothing at all to offer them anyway. Others may look at you negatively. That's their own deal, not yours. You did what you needed to do. NTA, you made it clear you didn't want to know them. They violated your wishes and privacy by finding your address, which is dodgy as F, and showed up unannounced. That screams crazy to me, and that they have no boundaries at all. Just because they are young doesn't give them a pass to basically pay someone to stalk you and intrude in your space when you obviously didn't want that. This blows my mind that the oldest in particular thought this was okay. You don't owe them a relationship or anything just because you may share DNA.